I am Emil Kresl. I'm the Director of Learning and Development for the University of Texas at Austin. We're going to go over a lot of the resources that we have at UT L&D, specifically aimed around career development. And this, forum, of course, is a good example of that. This Lunch and Learn series of 7 different topics that we were having every Wednesday at noon. We had to do a little shifting because of the Texas ice storm, but we're up and at it again. We have a couple more to go, a couple more weeks to go. Next week, Melissa Tota is going to join us and talk about identifying your strengths. And then the week after that, Leslie Robinson is going to talk to us about the importance and power of networking. And you can find out more about those by going to the Career Development Lunch and Learn webpage. Frances De La Cruz, who is the other half of Learning Development, is also going to on this call, and she can drop in some links. And if you have questions about a lot of the learning tech stuff, she'll be here to answer those questions as well. So with that, I'm going to just kind of walk you through our webpage. And again, if at any point you have questions, please be sure to ask them. Interrupt me anytime. This is going to be really informal. I just want to make sure that you are aware of resources that we have and know where to find them. So this is our website, and we kind of break it up into 4 different areas. The area that we're going to really focus on mostly is going to be on our resources page. And if you click into another thing I should say before I do that, on our main page, I encourage you to just click on this video when you have time. It's, I don't know, maybe 3 minutes long, and it gives a really good overview of L&D in general, all of the things that we have to offer, our programming, our resources, and you get a really good sense of what we offer. And then if you have other, suggestions on what we might do, we're always interested in hearing those. We're only a year old, so we're always thinking about more that we can do. So the resources page. This is broken up into a couple different areas. Michelle Bennett, who is such an important part of our team, handles our web updates, and she just recently reorganized this into resources that are sort of exclusive to learning and development, and then our partners and some external links. So the first thing I'm going to show you is our 360 assessment page. The way that we've tried different 360 assessment tools, and for those of you who aren't familiar with this kind of assessment, the concept behind a 360, and this is on the website too if you want to read about it, is that you want to get evaluated from sort of the 360 view of your professional life. So you'll have people, your supervisor, your direct reports, your peers, your colleagues, your customers, and you send them this same survey to evaluate them on certain criteria. Our assessment is competency-based, and it's also leadership-focused. So we really look at competencies in these 3 areas of interpersonal competencies, situational competencies, and strategic competencies as they pertain to leadership. And these are the competencies themselves that we focus on. The reason why I wanted to start with this is because a lot of what we do is aligned with this set of competencies. We build LinkedIn Learning Collections. We build UT Learn Collections so that once you get your 360 assessment to help you sort of focus and identify competencies that you can use to really, grow in your career, it's not done there. Like we will, help you figure out ways that you can develop those competencies. So if in the process of taking the assessment, you get some feedback, or after your debrief, which we sort of do a 30-minute or a 1-hour debrief to sort of walk you through what some of these comments might be, and then you can identify, well, if I'm going this way in my career, or if this is the way I want to grow in my current position, then I really want to focus on the competency of, let's say, problem solving. And if that's the case, then you want to know, okay, well, how do I develop in that way? And this is also true in just regular performance evaluations. We've done this at UT for years, and as well as other companies and organizations. They do their annual or regular performance evaluations, but there's often nothing at the other end of it. So you get to this point where you sit down with your supervisor and she says, I think it's going to be really great if, for your own development, or, what you can do for customers, if you really develop in the area of risk management. And then it's kind of the end of it. And that's a real problem, because you want to be able to say, okay, well, now I'm going to focus on risk management, sort of develop that competency. And this is how I'm going to do it. And so I'm going to show you some of the ways that we address that problem. We don't leave it there. And another thing with our 360 assessment, it's developmental. So it's not a performance evaluation. This is a really important distinction. If you've ever done a 360 assessment, you may have felt like it is more of a performance evaluation, sort of a past performance and how you need to do better, in the eyes of your boss or whatever that might be. And that's not what this is. This is a very future focused, developmental, so that you can figure out how you can do better in your career. And the other thing about our 360 is that it is really kind of trimmed down. It's organized and structured in a way so that it's not difficult for you to take, and it's not difficult for your evaluators to take either. It's one of the biggest things that we found when we were using other tools, is that for the evaluators, sometimes it kind of felt like a slog. Like it just got to a point where they just wanted to get through it. And so we trimmed it down so it's not as onerous. And we do collect quantitative data. So you sort of get rated on the competencies themselves. But there's a lot of opportunity for the raters and yourself to give written feedback, because that's often what's most valuable to when you go through 360, is reading the comments that people have to say about you. So that's our 360 assessment. We also have, and you can read about the ratings and how we, encourage raters to go through this process of rating in a very thoughtful way. And we also do some coaching. As I mentioned, there's sort of this debrief afterwards. But if you want to have a coaching relationship, we have our community learning team can do that. The first tier of just the debrief is built into the 360. You always get that. We try not to do a lot of like fee-based services, but because the 360, we use Qualtrics 360 tool, we have to pay for that. And then in the case of the coaches, they're on contract. So in this instance, there actually is a fee attached to it. I see that we have a question here, so let me see if I can. So somebody asked, how do you get selected for a 360? There are a couple ways this happens. As an individual, you can just contact us and we can do the 360 for you as an individual. More often than not, it's done as an organization. So like a department might come and say, we want to do a 360 assessment for our whole team. And if it's a really big organization, a big team, like there's a lot of hierarchies, levels of hierarchies, we can do a tiered approach where the top leadership, go through it first, and then the next tier down, then the next tier down. And that's a nice experience because it is much more of sort of a community thing. What we really don't like to do, though, is if like somebody, again, it's not a performance evaluation tool. So sometimes people will approach us and they'll say, we're having problems with Sally. Can you put her through a 360? And that's not what this is. It's not sort of punitive. It doesn't work that way. And the information that comes out of that tool, we only share it with the subject. So whoever the subject is of that eval, if the supervisor contacts us and say, can I see Sally's with the results of her 360, the answer is no. Sally can share it with you if she wants. It's hers, she owns it. But we're not going to share with anybody else because it's pretty personal, right? Especially there could be some feedback that people get that's maybe a little difficult to digest, and we kind of work through that. So the answer to your question is, it's self-selected or it's done as a group, and you just contact us and we can sort of walk you through that process. So following up with you can also go through I'll go through the fee structures as well. So as I say with the 360 itself is $150, but part of that is the hour-long debrief afterwards. And then the second tier that goes through our community learning team, which is Susan Franson and Tommy Darwin. And if you want to do like a 6-month or a 12-month check-in, that starts a coaching relationship. You can leave it at that and just do a check-in to see sort of that longevity, like how did I do? How am I improving? And those coaching sessions are $300 an hour. I know that's steep, but again, these people are private and they're on contract. And then that same thing is true for the ongoing third tier, which is an ongoing relationship. And you set it up, per month or, couple, every other week or whatever you want. You can set that up with Tommy and Susan. So the other thing, just internal, to UT, is our central HR strategic workforce solutions staff, which is those are like your HR rep folks. They've also been trained on this 360, and you can also have meetings with them to discuss your career plan, and that's built in to central HR. So if you don't want to go through the coaching and paying that money, you can contact SWS after you've gone and done the debrief with us, and just do a check-in 6 months later and say, we did this 360 with L&D. I just want to help kind of develop more of a timeline and plan to see how I'm doing. And as I say, that's free. I should say at no cost to you. So let's see. Again, please, these are good questions. Please keep them coming. I'm going to go back to our resources page. Another good tool that's open to everyone is our competency database. And it is internal to UT staff, any employees, I should say. So students don't have direct access to it, but students can, talk to their career advisors, and their career advisors will have access to it. It's been around for a while. Not too many people are using it outside of like HR folks or people who are in that career development world. And by the way, Francis is dropping links to all these things in the chat, so you can access them as well. So let's say, for instance, you go through 360, or you are interested in a certain kind of job that like a certain competency is going to be really important. Let's just look at something like political savvy. Oops. I put a period in there. Did it again. And then it comes up with the competency name, organizational savvy and politics. And if you click on that, you'll see this table of different ways of looking at this competency. And the table looking at right now is the proficiency level table. So you can get a sense of the kind of breadth and depth of this competency into certain levels. So starting with the basic understanding, the level 1 of proficiency, it's just as an example, explains the benefits and risks of using informal channels. That's a real basic sense of organizational and political savvy. But if you want to think about, well, what does it mean to be really advanced in this competency. Then you go up to the subject matter depth and breadth on level 4, and you see things like comparison, contrasts, own organizations, how to get things done to others. So it's much a sort of deeper understanding. So you can kind of figure out like where you are, and you think, well, I've got quite a ways to go, or I'm pretty much there, to understand how developed, how proficient you are in that particular competency. The other thing that this table has are learning references, developmental statements. Sometimes when there are a lot of references, it might take a bit to load. I'm going to go into coaching tips. Looks like I might be having some internet issues. Anyway, so hopefully it will load while we're doing this, but you'll see coaching tips, which you can use for yourself. Now, sometimes the coaches, you'll see there are things that you can do to improve this competency. So in terms of improving operations, the tip is obtain cross-functional buy-in for projects or initiatives by soliciting feedback from key stakeholders in multiple departments or functions. So it's just a tip, like think about doing that to help develop that competency. Same thing with developmental statements. The thing that people are often really excited about are the interview questions. So another thing to think about is if you are a hiring unit and you are trying to figure out the best fit the best person for this position, sometimes hiring units will try and just replicate the person who just left that position, which can be a real problem. And they focus on kind of the hard skills. And they think, well, Bob was really good at Excel pivot tables or whatever. And so we got to make sure that somebody is really good at Excel pivot tables or FileMaker Pro or something. But really, those things are relatively easy to learn. There's not as much of a curve. I mean, FileMaker Pro, there's sort of this indefinite amount of knowledge. So maybe that's not a great example. But my point is that if you're trying to fill a position, it's really great if you can focus on the competencies that you're looking for. Because if you do that, then you can say, we need somebody who has really good organizational savvy. That's sort of where the heart of somebody who's going to be really effective in this position. And when you do that, then you can hire for that competency, and you can use this to look for the interview. So you can ask these interview questions. So the example here is, give me an example or situation when you would use formal or informal communication channels, right? So it just gives you some ideas of the kind of questions you might ask for this particular competency. Now, this is also good if you are interviewing for a job and you know that this particular competency is going to be important for the hiring unit. And you can go to this database and you can look up some questions that might help you prepare for that. Now, there was some discussion when we were releasing this competency database and thinking, well, let's, this is really going to be good for HR folks and people who are doing the hiring. Do we really want to release it to everyone? And unanimously, the answer came back, yeah. I mean, we want people to be prepared for their interviews. So that's, a great way to help prepare for that. And again, we have these learning resources. Some of these books may be a little not as up to date as they could, but the activities for the most part are fairly timely. So again, references to help you learn how to develop in these competencies. So again, it's open to you. It's a great resource, and we really encourage you to use it. You won't see this tab. This is something because I'm the administrator of it, but you'll see the UT job profiles, and you can look up a job to see like executive assistant. You click on the code, and it gives you some examples and works through some competencies that are really important to this particular job. We're in the process of trying to figure out how to winnow this down. There's too many competencies. But you'll get a sense. You'll see executive assistant listening. The listening competency is really important. You click on it, and it takes you to that page we were just on to sort of look over those competencies. So powerful tool. It's open to folks here at UT. I really encourage you to use it, especially people here who are in the career development arena, helping students take advantage of it. It's a great tool. Okay, let's go back to learning development. Keep the questions coming. Another, this kind of is in beta, but I'm still going to share it because it's not going to hurt you except to, in terms of time. This is a competency ID tool. Some of you who have been around as long as I have may have used, this tool is still around, so you still may have used it. It's called a card sort, where you sort through cards to identify competencies that you should focus on. And this survey is a way to do that virtually. Now, there's something about the tactile nature of the card sort that's good, and I like it. But of course, especially since we're all still, at least for the time being, working in a virtual environment, this is could be a good alternative to that. As I say, it's still in beta, but the other thing to be aware of is that it's a slog. Like it takes a fair amount of time because you're going through, gosh, I can't remember, maybe like 150 competencies. And the first phase is elimination. Maybe I'll just show you really quick. And this is all, and you can decide how you are using. I'm just reading this chat. Is this the website section that Emil is going over, accessible to non-T? The survey is accessible to anybody, but the competency database is not. That's internal to UT, but anybody can do this survey as well and access to our website. So you can use the survey for your own development, which is individual professional development. Or if you're trying to identify the right competency for a position you're creating or filling, you can do it for the position. Or if you're trying to identify competencies for a team or a whole organization, you can do it for that too. So for instance, you'll say, what competencies, I don't know, like the Department of English. Let's try and figure out like our core competencies, the competencies that are really important to us, and sort of work through it in that way. That can be really helpful to sort of feel like getting on the same page. Similar to values, making sure that you have a shared set of values. It can be really helpful to have a shared set of competencies as well. And right now, Karen Chauner and SWS is going through that for UT to identify UT's core competencies. So you can imagine that's an enormous undertaking. But you can do it for your small little team as well. Let's say you just want to do it for your position. Type in the title, the position that you're aspiring to, the purpose. And then this round is just elimination. So that's what happens in the card sort. You try to get rid of the ones that you don't think really had to do with your own development. And you can see there's a ton of them. And so that's why it can be like, oh my God, it's taken forever. And then from there, it's a matter of rating that it's essential or not as essential or least essential. And then it winnows it down to ranking. So it's this process of just kind of elimination and getting it down to the top 10. And then once you submit it, you get sent an email. The formatting is not that great, but it will send you the information back of those top 10 competencies that you should focus on for your own development, or the competencies that are great for your team, or whatever it might be. As I said, it is in beta, but I encourage you to use it. It is a slog, but for some people like me, it's actually kind of fun. So if you're into that kind of thing, it might actually be kind of fun to go through it.
Hey, Emil, we do have a question.
Go ahead. Yeah.
What if your job code isn't in the competency database?
So the competency database does not have A and P. It's because of the nature of the way that UT HR kind of looks at their positions. But that's, other than that, the job code should be in, like if it's a classified job code, it should be in there. And if not, try and find a job title that is similar to that. And you still can't find it, drop us an email. There might be some reason why it isn't crosswalking to the list of competencies that we have from that database. But I would say mostly try and find at least a close match. And as I say, A&P, I don't know when that will happen, but it's just kind of the nature of the way that job codes work at UT. So classified are in there, but that's why it might be better to focus on competencies than job codes for most of the people who are in this lunch and learn. Okay. So the other things I'll go over here are the resource pages. Remote work fatigue, it's just something you might want to have a look at. It's not directly related to career development, but there's some really good resources on here that you should tune in for. They're LinkedIn Learning videos and some really good articles. There's a video I did that's I don't know, a few minutes long. I try to keep them short. And then I know there are a lot of trainers on here and presenters. This is a good page you can visit. Again, this is open to anyone, not just UT, and share it around. This is my top 3 tips and tricks for rules of presentations, I should say. And we also have our do's and don'ts list of things for presenters. Number 3, for example, is the primary focus for learners should be the speaker, not the slides, and the primary focus for the speaker should be the learners. Just things like that, kind of rules of thumb, but the things that you should look up are LinkedIn collections on presentations. Another thing that happens, people who are sort of new to presentations or training, one of the problems is they don't know what they don't know. And they may have only had access to one format where it's just sort of a talking head or this format or a side-by-side. And we show you that there are different ways to present. There's Prezi Video and team panels, blended learning. We talk through what those options are. It's not exhaustive, but it at least gives you some different variations for how you might be able to present. So that's a nice tool as well. And then we have our partners and additional resources, free or discounted opportunities. Our good friends at Center for Professional Education, they give their, was it last week, I think, presentation on the career development workbook that they created. And we'll have all of our career development lunch and learn sessions there recorded. And a couple of them are up on our YouTube site, which I'll show you in a minute. But we have to get them captioned first. So Amira is from CPE. We'll have hers up on our YouTube site as well. It's a great resource. So anyways, these are our friends and that you can find resources for career development through these as well. Another good tool is at libraries. We work with libraries to come up with this way of searching. Not everybody likes to learn by watching videos or going through the competency database. So if you go to libraries and you click on, I find that this one's the best, the Business Source Complete. It's just a database where you can type in a keyword and they'll come up with articles. Some of them are a little too academic. Let's try political savvy again. I misspelled it. are a little too academic, or, but there are some, you can kind of winnow it down, and you can find some really good articles that are accessible. This one is because you have to go through UT Library, so this is kind of internal to the UT community. But students have access to it, obviously, and staff and faculty. It might take a little bit more time. It may be more of a tool really for career development people to advise people, but you're free to do it. I mean, if you really want to dig in on your own, we really encourage self-directed learning and research. So you have access to it internal to UT and UT community, and it can be a good way to find some articles that are appropriate for your own development. Any questions? What questions do you have for me? Okay. So before I get into LinkedIn Learning and UT Learn, which I'm going to probably have Francis talk a lot about too, I wanted to also mention that a couple of our programs like UT Reads is also really good for career development because it has to do with networking. Our UT Leadership Talks, if in particular, if you are interested in developing as a leader, it's really a great program. It's something we do every month. We interview leadership experts or leaders and we stream it live on the HR Facebook page. And again, that's open to anybody. You don't even have to have a Facebook account. Just go to the HR Facebook page. Francis will drop it in the chat in a minute. And you can learn a lot about those conversations that I have with leaders. We had Art Markman last month. We talked about complex planning and examining alternatives. Before that, it was John Daly. And we talked about communication, the importance of communication. And this, actually next week, I'm going to be interviewing Jeremy Surrey. We're going to be talking about authoritarian leadership. So they're really fascinating conversations with fascinating people. And if you're interested in developing as a leader or just interested in leadership in general, this is a great resource for your development. And you can get to those through this page and HR Facebook page here. But next, what I want to show you, I'll do our YouTube channel and then LinkedIn Learning, and then our LinkedIn group, and then I'll show LinkedIn Learning, which is an important tool that we offer as well. So this is our all of our recorded versions of leadership talks. You can see there's quite a few of them, and the subjects are in the title: complex planning, getting results. And you can go in there. It's open to anyone, and you can see all those options. And I'm going to go to our channel here. And the other thing about our channel, this is our intro video, you can watch it. There's some really good developmental tools in here. You can see some on our landing page for our YouTube channel. But there are also different videos you can watch here, our playlists. I did a trio of videos on leading with decency. Taylor Brown did a whole series on perspectives on empathy. Fundamentals of Focus is just two videos in that collection. And eventually we'll have all of the career development lunch and learns in this playlist. But we also have, again, as I mentioned, exploration is really important to us. So if you want to come here just to look at the different channels that we follow, there's some really good videos that you can, go to Tim Ferriss and watch some of his videos, or the Harvard Professional Development channel is really great. So another great place to access some information. Let's see. This is our learning and development LinkedIn group. Again, anybody can join this. It is I have to give you access to it, but if you want to have it's basically our blog. and we share articles here. You can share an article here as well that has to do with learning and development or career development. And it's a great way to just keep up on career development stuff. We shared CPEs, find your professional future here, just different events that are going on. Usually they're free, they're almost always free. So it's a great sort of virtual community to join. You can even have discussions about a particular article. You've been on LinkedIn before, you know how that works. So that's a good place to keep up to date on things, as is our Twitter feed. Again, open to everyone, obviously. You can find out what's going on around UT and the just learning and development community in general. And then there is LinkedIn Learning. So I should say all staff, students, and faculty at the University of Texas have access to LinkedIn Learning at no cost to them. Obviously, LinkedIn Learning is a huge platform, so some people who are not affiliated with UT will still have access to these things. So I'll go over a little bit of it. Oh, I guess it was last week. I'm sorry, it was LinkedIn. That's who we had at the Lunch and Learn last week. Nicole Suss came in, and that will be up on our YouTube channel as well. And this is a great way for self-directed learning and finding out a way to, develop certain skills. What we've done, as I mentioned with the 360, we track all that stuff. So the same competencies that you'll see in the 360, you'll find competency collections in our LinkedIn, the UT University of Texas LinkedIn portal. So when you go through the 360 or don't go to the 360, you'll find competencies that you can use, collections on those competencies. So if you say, oh, I'm interested in innovation, you can click on that collection and you can find several different videos on that specific competency. And you can watch them all. You can watch one, you can watch 5 minutes. You want to, a chapter and just find something that you really drill down to. And this is a great, resource, again, for just self-directed learning. The same is true. The same things you see here is also in our internal University of Texas learning management system, UT Learn. The difference here is that where LinkedIn Learning is great for the self-directed learning, UT Learn can be good for a career development person, or a supervisor. You get done with a performance evaluation and she says, I really want you to take this course on leading with innovation. I think it's going to be great for our unit, great for you. And in UT Learn, again, the LMS, not LinkedIn Learning, the supervisor can assign that course to you so that's tracked. Right. So she then knows that you've taken this course, you are doing what she asked you to do. So that can be really helpful. We will be in the process of integrating UT Learn with LinkedIn Learning eventually. It is kind of a lot of moving parts, but eventually we'll be doing that. The other thing about on the LinkedIn Learning side is that you can get badges that will track over to your LinkedIn profile. Francis, do you have anything to add on that you want to talk about with LinkedIn Learning or the badges or that I'm missing?
Yes, sure. So when you log into your LinkedIn Learning, you do have a choice of connecting your LinkedIn account with your LinkedIn Learning. And one of the benefits of doing that is when you actually finish a course within LinkedIn Learning, the skills and the badges that are associated with those courses are actually visible in your LinkedIn profile. And once we do the integration in UT Learn, that functionality remains the same. Whatever courses you complete in LinkedIn Learning will always be visible in your LinkedIn profile. If you need help in getting those two accounts connected, you can contact us or email UT L&D and we'll help you get set up for that.
We got a question in the chat about how the process of assigning. So I'm going to try and quickly show how easy that is. Got to log in first. So going into, this is UT Learn. So again, folks who are not, we have several people who are not internal UT, so I don't want to spend too much time on this, but just really quickly. So here's a course, our Leading with Decency course that I did, and it loads up the different classes. And then if you click into the course itself, and then you can just assign. Click assign, and then your direct reports will come up and you can assign it to that person. It's pretty simple. Anything to add about that, Francis?
This is actually a new interface that the vendor had rolled out recently, which makes it easier for managers to assign courses. And you can assign any course that's available in UT Learn to your direct reports. And your direct reports come directly from our Workday organizational hierarchy.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. I think that's, let me show you, going back to the way that you access that UT page is you just go into browse. Once you're in LinkedIn Learning, you go into browse, click on University of Texas, and then there are two big playlists. Other big, two big tags. The other tag is the career track, and this will be growing, in time. But these are kind of the heavy hitters that we hear a lot about, and we have collections based around these positions. So if you're interested in developing a career, either you're not in that area and you want to learn more about it, or you're in that field and you want to develop more, you can click in that area, and that collection, it will come up with courses dedicated to that specific career. So again, really kind of robust way to focus on careers, and that will likely be growing. So somebody's asking, Francis, I'm having trouble getting to LinkedIn Learning through the link provided. I tried 2 different browsers. Am I the only one with this issue? So I want to make sure that Francis, do you want to reply to it?
Hi, Alejandro. I'll take a look at your profile and I'll connect with you offline.
So that's the basics of what I wanted to cover today. Faith Hanley is saying that she had to log into her VPN in order to get access into LinkedIn Learning. So that might be an issue if you're trying to log in. So let me just go back to our page here. And then Gordon is talking about how you can also set up topics you're interested in LinkedIn Learning, and then you'll see to suggest courses for you. That's a really good point, something we covered last week. If you have a specific subject area that you want to keep up to date on, you can put it into LinkedIn Learning and you'll get notices when new stuff comes out. So that's a great way to keep on top of things. Yeah, thanks for that, Gordon. So I think that we've covered most of what I wanted to hit on here. Make sure I hit everything. I will mention just sort of the future of what we plan on doing with career development at Learning and Development. You saw how we have the competencies and career paths, with the 360, from the 360 all the way to UT Learn and LinkedIn Learning, those sets of competencies, and even into UT libraries, you can search for those competencies and find things to read on your own. So we really have the self-directed learning aspect of this covered. What we don't have covered is the interactive, the live courses, sitting down with a facilitator, an instructor, and interacting with people and learning with the community about those competencies or about those careers. And that is, as you know, a really rich experience and can be very rewarding to say, okay, well, I want to, it's great to be able to go on LinkedIn Learning and take a virtual class on administrative professional, but I want to go to a class, even if it's virtual, and interact with people in the same time, synchronous learning, and go to breakout sessions and do polls and talk to people and chat the way we are now. And that's where we want to go. We want to have the same virtual environment as we have it right now, and then also have those same courses and competencies or career paths available in the live environment, whether that's virtual or in person. And part of that is going to be what we call our intelligence collective, and reaching out to people throughout the UT community to, develop those courses. However, even with that, we need instructional designers, because just because you're a subject matter expert doesn't mean you necessarily know how to design a course and develop a course. And we can help with that to some extent, but we also need instructors and we need instructional designers, and we're working towards that. But as of right now, so much of what we do is virtual anyways, but we do want to get to a point where we're doing homegrown courses. And I should say a lot of times that also those courses, as this venue isn't exclusive to UT. So sometimes those courses will be open up to the general public as well. So often we feel like there's no reason why we wouldn't share what we know. So that's where we're going. We're excited about it. As you know, there are a lot of constraints in terms of really moving forward. Whether that's COVID to the ice storm, budgetary constraints are in place, but that is our intent, is to get to a place where we can have more interactive, participatory, engaging learning events in the future, and that's where we want to go. I think I covered everything that I needed to cover at this point. Francis, if there's anything else you want to add, let me know. There's only one question outstanding, and I don't know how to answer it, because it's how can I be as cool as Emil? And I have no idea. I wish I knew. What other questions do you have? Well, I'll say, if you do have questions or something comes to you later, you're welcome to contact us. Send an email to utld@austin.utexas.edu. Putting it into the chat, utld@austin.utexas.edu. Drop us an email, and we'll be happy to help any way we can, even if that is recommendations. Like, have you guys ever thought of doing this? As I said, this is just our first year. We're barely getting rolling here. So we're excited about doing more, and we do it as a community. We succeed as a community. So thank you very much. One question. Please remind us where we go to access the recordings. It's the YouTube channel. I'll drop it in the chat. And please do. I'm also going to really recommend watching that video on that page as well. It gives a really good overview of UT Learning Development. It's just that it's going to start playing as soon as you click on that link. Okay, I think we're done. It's a wrap. Thank you, everybody, so much. I appreciate your engagement, and look forward to seeing you next week. Don't forget to, if you haven't registered yet, please do so at the career development page. I'm going to drop that in the link, unless, Francis, you have access. I'll do it here. Please remember to register for the next two. Melissa Tota next week, talking about identifying strengths. She's amazing, as is Leslie Robinson. She'll be the week after that talking about the importance and the power of networking. They're going to be super exciting, and I look forward to seeing you all there. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks again.